This is a presentation on the OPC Controls.net product. In this video, we'll learn how to create HMI applications and how to turn your Visual Studio application into a data source for OPC Systems.net. We'll use Microsoft Visual Studio with no programming at all to create HMI applications using these standard controls. We'll learn how to update properties dynamically based upon real-time data from the OPC Systems.net database and also directly from OPC Servers. And we'll learn how to write values back to OPC Servers and the real-time database with just click events with no programming required. We'll also learn how to use the data component to programmatically read and write data. For each license service, you can build as many OPC Controls.net applications as you would like to run locally and remotely. And each application you build can connect to unlimited numbers of licensed services, so it's a very scalable system. With OPC Systems.net, all product features implement .NET remoting, so all components can use a standard TCP connection and make it very easy to connect over the internet. All components are 100% managed and support smart client deployment. You can see a live example of OPC Controls.net in use at the website at opcsystems.com under the web page smart_client. In order to use OPC Controls.net to build an HMI application, you simply need Microsoft Visual Studio. You can use Visual Studio 2005 or 2008 or the free to download versions from Microsoft.com under the /express page. If you go to this page, you can select the download link, and there you can download the individual product features, Visual Basic 2008 Express or Visual C# 2008 Express. To download OPC Systems.net, visit the website opcsystems.com. From the main page, select the individual product page, OPC Systems.net. And then there, on the left there is a download link where you can download the 32-bit or 64-bit version for your appropriate operating system. Now that you've downloaded both OPC Systems.net and Visual Studio and have them installed, we're now ready to run Microsoft Visual Studio. In one of our other video training sessions, we talk about data sources. Here we're going to use Microsoft Visual Studio to connect to OPC Systems.net tags and also directly to OPC servers using the direct OPC interface. Both are possible to connect to OPC servers. The OPC Systems.net tags can also be as a data source for your Visual Studio application. To begin project development, select File, New, Project. There you'll be given a selection to use either Visual Basic or C# Express. We're going to choose a Visual Basic application as a standard Windows application. A form design view will appear. We're now ready to take a look at the toolbox. We select View Toolbox. If you've not added the OPC Controls product to your toolbox yet, you simply right-click on the toolbox and select Choose Items. There the list of .NET components will appear. What we're looking for is 100% managed components. Starting with the OPC designation, we have OPC Alarm Control. The OPC Controls.net products range from OPC Controls button through the data component all the way down to the OPC Controls vertical scroll control. You may also want to optionally pick up the OPC Systems component. That's a free-to-use component for programmatic interface to automatically configure tags. Now that you've added the OPC Controls components to the toolbox, we're ready to drop them on the form. Let's resize the form view so we've got a little bit more of a workspace. And let's drag the OPC Controls label onto the form. With the OPC Controls components, they have special properties that you can use to define to real-time tags, to dynamically update the properties based upon the value from that tag. If you select a control and simply right-click on it to select Properties or hit the F4 key while the control is selected, you will bring up the Properties dialog. If we scroll down to the text property, we will see underneath of it a property called text OPC systems underscore tag. When we define a point to this property, it will dynamically update the text property based upon the value from that tag. So let's select the text OPC systems underscore tag property, and a browse button will appear to the right. Select that browse button, and a browse dialog will appear to browse a local system or a remote system where the OPC system service could be running on a remote system even across the internet. We're going to select the local system for our local tag configuration. We will now browse for the tag ramp2, expand that, and select the value property of the ramp2 tag. And select OK, it will return the tag name ramp2.value. Tag names are case sensitive, and if you want to include a network node name from a remote system, if we use the browse dialog, and let's say we would enter in an IP address, a network node name, or in this example, we're going to use a registered domain name on the internet called OPC Systems Server.com. When we hit the select button, we are now browsing for those remote tags. When we expand this, it is running the same tag configuration. It's the demo configuration from the opcsystems.net tags. But now we're actually looking at a system in Texas and using the internet for our communications. And now the point name returned is // the domain name / and then ramp2.value. There are many other properties of the label control. Starting at the top, there is the back color property to dynamically change the back color of the label based upon a tag. You can make it enabled or disabled, change the for color, change the image index of the label. And the best way to see all of the properties shown in a live example is to look at the example application under the program group opcsystems.net and select the example application. There, if we select Controls, Labels, we'll see a live example of the label controls in use, and we can see the back color, for color. If you click on the button that says Turn Pump On or Off, you can then change the color or the visible property or the enable state or the image index. Here we're seeing the image index property. When the pump is off, we're displaying a red pump with a stop sign in that label. Turn the pump on, and we see a green pump with a green light for the pump on signal. And here we see the standard use of the text properties where we have numeric values changing, and we simply see the text property being updated based upon those values. We also have a timestamp property that indicates the current time of the data source of that last value we have received for that tag. We can also change the size or location. If we see location X and location Y, we see the controls moving up and down and left and right based upon dynamic tags. If you look at the code for this form, you'll see there's actually no code behind this form at all. It's just all properties being set to live dynamic tags. Back to the design view of your application, let's take another control. Very commonly is the OPC Controls button. If we select that control and drag it onto the form, we can then change the size of this button. And one common property of the OPC Controls button is to set the value based upon a click event, to set it to a particular value or toggle its current value. We want to go to the property called Set Value OPC Systems. Set that property to true. We can then click on the Set Value OPC Systems tag and browse for a tag from our local system. Let's select the pump value signal. Select OK. Now when an operator clicks on this button, we will toggle the current value of pump.value. So if it's false, it will be set to true. If it's true, it will be set to false. We can also set it to specifically to false, or specifically to true, or set it true while down. Under the data type, there's also other options, like if you can assign it to a particular number, or bring up a keypad entry so that you would use a touchscreen interface to confirm data entry. So now let's run and test this application. If we select Debug, Start Debugging, or hit the F5 key, you will then launch that Windows application in a debug mode. We now see the current value being fed from the internet from that system in Texas we were connected to of the ramp 2 signal. We also see the local signal status of the pump signal as to be on, as the back color is green. If we click on that button, we'll see that signal then changes to red. Let's make some further modifications to the application. We see the text for the OPC Controls button is not correct, so let's bring up the property view by selecting F4 or right-click to select Properties. If we go down to the property called Text, we see that it's currently defined to OPC Controls button 1. Well, we might want to change that so that it says Pump. But even further, maybe change the text while it's running to be assigned to that local pump tag. So that when the pump is on, we'll display the text pump is running. And when the pump signal is false, we'll display the text pump is off. Now when we debug this, we do see that the text of the OPC Controls button is now pump is off when it's off, and pump is running when it's true. Visual Studio supports many different graphic formats. Here we see an example of an application developed by FEC Technologies. They are one of our service teams out of Pennsylvania. You can find their contact information on our sales page at opcsystems.com. Here's a live interactive application that provides real-time data in a 3D graphic mode. So you can take a picture of your own process and then overlay OPC Controls components and also include trending, alarming as well into your application and then deploy it as a smart client. OPCSystems.net does come with some free example symbols under the Symbols directory, under the installation directory of Program Files, Open Automation Software, OPCSystems.net. Feel free to use any graphic format that you would like. That would include JPEGs, PNG, GIF, WMF. They're all supported by Microsoft Visual Studio.